The winter of 1886 did not arrive like a warning. It arrived like any other season, quiet, predictable, almost harmless. Across the open plains of the American West, cattle grazed under cold but manageable skies. Ranchers had seen winter before. Snow, wind, freezing nights. None of it was new. Life on the frontier demanded endurance, and by that year, many believed they understood exactly how to survive it. That belief would cost them everything. In the months leading up to the disaster, conditions had been unusually favorable. Grass had grown thick across the plains, and herds expanded quickly. Confidence followed success. Ranchers pushed their operations further, trusting the land to hold through the colder months. Many chose not to prepare for the worst. Shelter was limited. Feed was left in the ground instead of stored. The open range, which had always provided, was expected to provide again, but nature was already shifting. By late autumn, subtle changes began to appear. Winds grew sharper. Temperatures dropped faster at night. A few early cold fronts passed through, stronger than usual, but not enough to trigger alarm. Experienced men noticed, but most did not act. Because on the frontier, reacting too early could mean wasted effort, and wasted effort meant lost profit. So they waited, and the plains kept quiet. By December, the land stretched wide and empty beneath pale skies. Herds still moved freely, spreading across miles of open ground. Cowboys rode their usual routes, checking cattle, repairing fences, watching the horizon without urgency. It looked like control. It felt like stability. But it was neither, because what they didn't see, what no one could fully predict, was the scale of what was building far beyond their sight. In early January, the first real sign appeared, a sudden drop in temperature, not gradual, not expected. Within hours, the air turned sharp enough to burn the lungs. Water froze faster. Horses grew restless. Cattle began to bunch together, sensing something beyond human awareness. Then the wind came. It didn't blow steadily. It struck. Short, violent bursts that cut across the plains and disappeared just as quickly. Dust and snow lifted in uneven waves, breaking the natural rhythm of the land. Still, no one panicked, because storms had come before, and storms had passed. But this was not a storm. This was something else. By mid-January, the sky changed. Clouds no longer moved gently across the horizon. They stacked, thick, heavy, darker than anything the plains had seen that season. The sunlight faded earlier each day, replaced by a gray stillness that pressed down over the land. The air felt wrong, too heavy, too quiet. Cowboys began noticing something they couldn't explain: the silence. Birds disappeared. The usual sounds of the plains faded. Even the cattle moved differently, slower, tighter, less willing to spread out across open ground. The land itself felt like it was waiting. Then, on a day that began no different from the rest, the temperature dropped again, faster this time, harsher. Men who had worked these plains for years felt it immediately. The cold wasn't just uncomfortable, it was aggressive. It cut through clothing, through gloves, through every layer meant to protect against winter. Breath turned to ice in the air, skin burned within minutes. And still, there was no storm, not yet. That was the final mistake. Because when the storm finally came, it didn't build slowly. It arrived all at once. And by the time anyone understood what was happening, it was already too late. It began without warning. No gradual snowfall, no distant rumble, no time to prepare. One moment, the plains stood silent beneath a gray sky. The next, everything disappeared. Wind slammed across the land with violent force, carrying snow so dense it erased the horizon in seconds. Visibility dropped to nothing. Cowboys who had been riding in open country could no longer see their own horses' heads. The world turned white, and the temperature plunged, not slowly, violently. Within hours, it dropped far below anything most had experienced. The air froze inside the lungs, exposed skin numbed, then burned, then vanished into nothingness. Men wrapped scarves across their faces, but it wasn't enough. The cold pushed through every layer, and it did not stop. The blizzard howled across the plains like a living force. Wind drove snow sideways, upward, in every direction at once. There was no shelter in the open range, no place to hide, no direction to follow. The land itself had disappeared. Cattle reacted first. Thousands of longhorns began to bunch together, driven by instinct. They turned into the wind, pressing tightly against one another in desperate attempts to survive the freezing blast. But the cold was too severe, too sudden. The weak began to fall. At first, only a few, then more, then hundreds. Once a steer went down, it rarely stood again. Ice formed quickly along their bodies. Snow covered them where they fell. And as more collapsed, they created barriers that trapped others behind them. The herd stopped moving, and once it stopped, it began to die. Cowboys fought to respond. Some tried to drive the cattle forward, pushing horses into wind so strong it nearly threw them off balance. Others attempted to guide herds toward lower ground, where protection might exist. But direction meant nothing now. There were no landmarks left, no horizon, no sense of distance, only white and noise. Men shouted, but their voices were torn apart by the wind before reaching anyone else. Commands vanished. Communication failed. Riders became isolated within minutes, separated by nothing more than a few yards of distance. And in that isolation, survival became individual. Horses struggled beneath them, legs sinking into deepening snow. Ice formed along reins, saddles, and clothing. Every movement slowed. Every decision became harder. Some riders turned back, trying to find camp. They never reached it. Others dismounted, attempting to walk beside their horses to conserve strength. They collapsed before long. The cold did not forgive mistakes. It punished them instantly. Fingers froze first, then hands, then arms. Movement became stiff, unresponsive. Simple tasks, holding reins, adjusting clothing, even staying upright, became impossible. Time itself changed. Minutes felt longer, movement felt slower, and the body began to shut down. Across the plains, entire herds stood motionless in the storm, packed tightly together, heads lowered into the wind. Snow piled along their backs. Ice locked their legs in place. Some remained standing as they froze, unable to move, unable to fall. Others lay buried beneath drifts that grew deeper with every passing hour. By nightfall, the storm had not weakened. It intensified. Darkness erased what little visibility remained. Temperatures dropped even further. Wind continued without pause, without rhythm, without mercy. Men who had survived storms before began to understand something terrifying. This was not something they could outlast. This was something they were trapped inside. And as the hours stretched into night, the plains turned from land into a place where survival itself began to disappear. The storm did not end with relief. It ended with silence. When the wind finally weakened and the snow stopped falling, the plains revealed what the storm had taken. The white landscape stretched in every direction, smooth and quiet, as if nothing had ever moved across it. But beneath that stillness, everything had changed. Cowboys who survived the night began to move again, slowly, cautiously, stepping through deep snow that resisted every stride. Horses struggled to stand. Some never did. Others stood frozen in place, legs stiff, eyes dull, as if the storm had drained something permanent from them. Men searched first for each other. Names were called into the cold air, but many answers never came. Tracks were gone, landmarks erased. A man could be yards away and never found. Then they searched for the herds. What they found was worse. Across miles of open range, cattle lay where they had fallen, some buried completely, others half visible beneath hardened drifts. In places, entire sections of herd had collapsed together, frozen where they had tried to survive. Thousands were gone, not scattered, not lost, gone. And the ones still standing were not safe. The storm had passed, but the damage had only begun. Ice covered the ground beneath the snow, locking grass out of reach. Surviving cattle weakened quickly, unable to feed, unable to recover. Many wandered aimlessly, separated from the herd, too exhausted to travel far. Then another storm came, and another. The winter did not end with a single blow. It returned again and again, each time striking what little strength remained. Ranchers tried to respond. They rode out when they could, breaking ice, searching for survivors, attempting to gather what was left of their herds. But the scale was beyond control. The open range that once provided now offered nothing. Feed ran out, water froze, movement slowed, loss became constant. By the time spring approached, the full cost became visible. Fields once filled with cattle stood empty. Carcasses lined riverbanks, fences, open plains, anywhere the storm had driven them. The smell of loss carried through warming air. It could not be ignored. Entire ranches were wiped out. Years of work gone in a single season. Men who had built everything from nothing stood in silence, facing land that no longer supported them. Some walked away, others stayed, forced to rebuild with what little remained. But nothing returned to the way it had been. The winter of 1886 did more than kill cattle. It ended an era. The belief that open land could always provide, the idea that experience alone guaranteed survival, the confidence that the frontier could be controlled, all of it was broken. After that winter, change followed quickly. Barbed wire spread across the plains, dividing open range into managed land. Ranching shifted from expansion to control. Preparation replaced assumption. Risk was no longer ignored. Because the lesson had been written too clearly to forget. Nature did not negotiate. It did not warn. And it did not care how prepared a man believed himself to be. For those who lived through it, the memory stayed long after the snow melted. Not just the cold, not just the loss, but the understanding that survival on the frontier had never been guaranteed. It had only ever been temporary. And in the quiet that followed that deadly winter, the plains stood exactly as they always had, wide, empty, unforgiving, waiting.